This is the Yoga Foundations class, so it's very beginner friendly. Of course, if you're more experienced, you can always go back to the foundations and find something that you can work with and refine. If you have 2 yoga blocks, please grab those. If you have a yoga strap, that'll also be helpful. And we'll actually start on our 2 feet today. So we'll do the hardest pose to master, mountain pose. I'm just going to set my blocks off to the sides. I recommend you do the same. So there's one at the front corner of the mat, one at each corner. And then we'll start by standing with our feet about hip width or so. And take note of how your feet are positioned. A lot of times we get in the habit of standing with our feet turned out. And that's actually a really great position for your leg bones if you're doing a squat. So it's great for gardening, great for having tea with friends, great for lifting heavy weights. However, if we're looking to do a forward fold or a one-legged balancing pose where the leg might be straighter, we actually want to work with a more neutral position. So this involves lifting and spreading all of your toes. You can spread your fingers too. A lot of people find that when they spread their fingers, it helps affect something in the brain to get the toes spreading. So lift and spread the toes and then pivot over your heels. And try with 1 foot at a time, turning the foot inwards and outwards, but allowing that movement to come from the hip joint. And this is a central principle. So what does it look like if the foot isn't coming from the hip joint? I'm going to have to really think about how to show this. Basically, you just got a little bit of movement in the ankle or the knee, but the hip doesn't move much. So want to really plug the thigh bone into the hip socket and then create that movement. So if you're neutral, the foot is more or less aiming straight ahead. There might be a bit of deviation by a few degrees either way. And then we'll do the same with the other foot. So lift and spread the toes and pivot from the hip joint, moving over the heel. And this seems like one of those really simple things like, oh, of course, that's so easy to do. But you'd be surprised how often people find themselves in a pose like triangle where they're not really moving from the hip enough and they get kind of stuck sticking their butt out or craning their neck. So you want to think about really connecting with these actions. And so now both feet are parallel, about hip width. And we'll play with bending the knees. Try to keep the legs parallel. And then push off the heels coming up to standing. And you can breathe any way you like. If possible, breathe through your nose. I'm not going to cue inhaling or exhaling at any particular time. Just breathe naturally. If you find your lower back gets sore in these movements, try exhaling to come up. So the advantage there is the exhale tricks the body into connecting more with the core, both in the abs and in the pelvic floor. And as you're coming up, notice where the weight falls in the foot. Try to push into your heels and consciously contract the buttocks. And that's another area where it's maybe a little bit easier said than done. Sometimes when we squeeze the butt, we turn the hips out. So in this case, we're trying to keep the legs parallel, which is training us to activate some of the smaller glute muscles. So a lot of us know of the moneymaker glute maximus, but we also have 2 smaller ones, glute medius and minimus, which work more with establishing these neutral hip rotations, especially in one-legged balancing. And notice if you find your knees buckling in, think about pushing the knees out to the sides a little bit. Not too far, but just a little bit. Great, so we'll bring that awareness into standing now. Very good. Now engage the fronts of your thighs, your quadriceps. Lift and spread all of your toes. And play with leaning forward. Gradually root the big toes down. And then lean back a little bit. Again, lean forward. This naturally creates a bit more of an arch in the lower back. And then lean back. Again, lean forward. Grip with the toes a little. Lean back, heavier on the heels. And once more. And so to be really strong in the foundation like a mountain, we're ideally co-activating the muscles that we use to stand up from a squat, so we're activating the smaller glute muscles and the hamstrings. And then we're also toning the front of the legs, the muscles that we use to straighten the legs. So working with that foundation now, take an inhale to lift both of your arms straight out in front, palms face each other, and then go as high up to the sky as you can. And exhale, slowly reverse the movement. And repeat that a few more times with your breath. Inhale, reach the arms forward and then up. Exhale, reversing the movement. And so in this range, we're reaching forward to spread the shoulder blades apart. You want to keep that spread of the blades as you go into the overhead range. Legs are strong and supportive. Last one. Good. Now we're going to build on the movement. So inhale, reach straight up to the sky again. Palms face each other. As you exhale, turn the hands the other way, moving from the shoulder joint, and then bring your palms by your sides. And again, inhale, reach straight ahead and upwards. And then turning from the shoulders, exhale, palms face the floor, and then down by your sides. And again, inhale, lift the arms. If it's comfortable, you can explore lifting the chin as well. Otherwise, head neutral. And then exhale, bring the arms down by your sides. Again, inhale, head neutral. Near the end of the movement, see how it feels to lift the chin. And then exhale, arms at sides, head back to neutral. And then one more, just like that. So what's great about this movement is it helps your shoulder blade and the upper arm bone, the humerus, find a really good gliding rhythm to help avoid shoulder impingement. So now we'll do the same thing in reverse. Inhale, spread the arms like wings. Here you can open the chest more, and then reach slightly forward as you go overhead. And exhale, slowly come down. Now, I've shown this one last because this is where people might feel a bit more of a pinch in the shoulders. So there's some tricks you can use to avoid that pinch. For the first half of the movement, you can draw the shoulder blades closer together. And then as you get near shoulder height, you're going to take the arms forward and then reach up. So it's almost like you're an orchestra conductor or something. And I'll show you how it looks from the side. It's a little bit easier to do it with the visual. So we inhale to spread the arms. And then around shoulder height, reach forwards, spreading the shoulder blades. Exhale, reverse the movement, and come back down. And you're welcome to squeeze the shoulder blades as the humerus is below eye level. But then to continue going up, we bring the shoulder forward, encouraging the shoulder blades to spread apart. And then just doing this for 10 minutes a day is a great yoga practice. We don't often do these movements with our shoulders in everyday life, but they're really good training so that the forces around the shoulder joint are balanced and exercised in a really well-balanced way. And if you're still feeling shoulder pain, you're always welcome to go back to one of the previous variations, like reaching straight out in front to train that rhythm a little easier. Another alternative, which is really helpful for opening the chest, is to only work with the first half of the movement, opening out to the sides and then coming back down. So I encourage you to adapt it to your own needs today. Keep listening to the body. And the way we're training the shoulders in this position carries over into any other pose where your arm is lifting, whether it's a side plank or something like a lunge or a warrior one where you're reaching up, even a downward dog. Good. And so now we'll look at the half sun salute. So if you have your yoga blocks in front of you, I would place them about a foot beyond your toes on their highest height. And the reason we're doing that is so that when you fold forward, you can move from the hip, keeping the back straight. And then as the hands come down to the yoga blocks, you're welcome to explore rounding your back. If you have a herniated disc or some other spinal condition where rounding your back doesn't feel good, you can simply keep the heart lifted Or you can explore bending your knees more, so that way your spine won't round as much. So let's all do it together, starting in the mountain. Find the rooting of the feet, the strength in the back and the front of the legs. And as you inhale, spread the arms, slowly reach up, spreading the shoulder blades. Exhale, spread the arms, bend your knees to help hinge at the hip, and then reaching for the yoga blocks, bow down, tucking the chin. Inhale, push the hands through the blocks, straighten the arms and look up. This is the half lift position. Exhale, fold forward, bending the elbows, keep pushing into the blocks, and then tuck the chin. Then before you come up, bend your knees like a weightlifter, look forwards. Inhale, rise up with glute strength, heavy heels, arms up. Exhale, standing tall, mountain pose. And repeat. Inhale, lift the arms. Exhale, fold from the hip, toes are spreading. If you're quite flexible, you can keep your legs a little straighter, maybe even touch the floor instead of the blocks. Inhale, push through the fingers to look up, shoulder blades are spreading apart. Exhale, fold forward, tucking the chin, engage the core. Before you come up, bend your knees like a squat. Inhale, lift the arms, use the strength of the buttocks to support the spine. And exhale, arms at sides. One more time. Inhale, lift the arms. Toes spreading, quadriceps contracting. Exhale, lean back through the heels. As the hands come down, round your spine. Inhale, pushing off the hands, lift the heart. Arms are straight. Exhale, fold forward again, contracting front of thighs. Before you come up, root the heels and bend the knees. And then inhale, rise up, lift arms. Exhale, mountain pose. And then transferring weight into your right foot, we'll lean the whole body over to the right. Bend both knees and slowly step your left foot back. You're going to angle it at the front left corner of the mat. Bend your right knee just over the ankle. It could be behind the ankle as well. And then with an inhale, lift the arms straight up to the sky. As you exhale, hinge at the hip, bend your elbows like cactus branches. Inhale, push through the heel and come up, contracting the buttock, straighten the legs. Exhale, bend the knee and hinge, bend the elbows. A few more of these movements, so inhaling, come up. Try to keep your back straight on the exhale by bending the front knee a little more. On the inhale, push through the heel, slowly straighten your leg as you rise up. On the exhale, slowly bend the knee more and more as you come forward. And again, inhale, reaching up. Shoulder blades can lift up. Exhale, squeeze the shoulder blades, cactus the arms. Last one. Inhale, reach straight up. And then exhale, take your hands all the way down to the yoga blocks or the floor, bending your knee. So you're going to use the hands as supports. This takes a bit of weight off the leg. As you inhale, lift the heart and see how much you can comfortably straighten your leg, toning the front of the thigh. As you exhale, start to bow forward over the right leg. Again, inhale, lift the heart, keep spreading through the right toes. Exhale, fold again, and we'll do that a few more times. The lighter the touch on the fingers, the more you can bear weight through your legs, strengthening around the hip joints. Think about keeping a micro bend in your right knee, even if it looks straight. And then we'll fold forward. You can use the yoga blocks. Maybe you're taking the hands to the floor if you're a little bit looser. And we'll hang out with a nice stretch. You might feel it in your hamstrings and the back of the right thigh. You might feel a bit of stretch along the back of your spine or between the shoulder blades even. 2 more breaths. On the next inhale, lift the heart halfway. Exhale, pause there, and bend your right knee just over the ankle. Now, heavy on the heel, contract the buttocks, spread the arms. With an inhale, come all the way up, lifting arms to the sky. And then exhale, step forward to mountain pose. Take a resting breath. then play with transferring the weight over the left ankle by leaning the weight of the body to the left. Bend your knees, lift your right foot, and slowly step the foot back. We're angling it at the front right corner of the mat. With an inhalation, lift the arms up to the sky. Exhale, hinge at the hip, bending your front knee, cactus the arms. Try to keep the back fairly straight. Inhale, push off the heel, straightening up, lift the heart. And exhale, bend the knee and cactus the arms. And continue at your own pace, really spreading out through your toes. This creates a broader base of support across the whole foot. Pushing off the front of the heel to come up, we're encouraging the glutes to be the big support for the hip joint, which translates up to the lower back, supporting the low back. Good. One more to go. So inhale, reach up. As the upper arm bone goes around eye level and below, we can really squeeze the shoulder blades. Good. Inhaling, reach up. This time on the exhale, take the hands to the yoga blocks past the foot. You can use your fingertips as an option. Inhale, push off the hands, lift the heart halfway. Contract the front of the thigh. Exhale, fold over the front leg. And repeat. Inhale, roll up halfway, lift the heart. Exhale, fold, contracting the front of the thigh still. This sends a signal for the back of the leg to comfortably lengthen. And you're welcome to pause on your next one. Maybe you're keeping the back straight, emphasizing straightening the leg over time. Maybe you're folding forward. If that hurts your lower back, try lifting the heart or bend your left knee more. And breathe, holding the pose. Good. 3 more slow breath through the nose. One more long breath. Long exhale with sound. Inhale, bend your front knee over the ankle. Exhale, pause there, and then spread the arms like wings. Inhale, come up with buttock power as you reach. And exhale, step to the front, mountain pose. Very good. So now our feet are about hip width apart. Work the inner spiral of the legs. So instead of turning the feet out, we're rotating in just enough to keep the legs neutral. As you inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, see how far you can go with the legs almost totally straight, and then touch the blocks. Inhale, push through the hands, lifting the heart halfway. Exhale, bend your knees, hands to the floor about shoulder width. You're going to spread the fingers as wide as you can. And then play with leaning your shoulders over the hands. Lift your heels a little bit. And then root the heels into the earth, leaning back. Again, pushing through the hands, lean forward. Feel free to lift your heels a little more. And then rooting the heels, lean back. We'll do that 3 more times. You can breathe whichever way you're comfortable. Slow breathing is key. Long exhales. One more to go. And then step back to the plank posture. So pushing through the hands round the back. Feel free to modify this pose by coming onto your knees. And then as you push into your hands, round your back as much as possible. Pull your hands towards your knees. So this engages the muscles that draw the shoulders away from the ears. Now, as you exhale, let your shoulder blades come closer together. As you inhale, push into your hands, rounding the back. Exhale, shoulder blades closer. Inhale, push through the hands, rounding the back. A few more to go at your own pace. Try to keep the elbows totally straight. So the movement comes from the shoulder blades, gliding along the backs of the ribs. Nice. Last one. Let the heart drop a little. And then bring your knees to the floor. Tuck the toes under. And we'll sit back into a toe squat. If this is too much for your knees, you can take the middle of your mat and fold it over about 4 inches or so. This way you now have a triple padding underneath your knees. There's also the option to keep your hips up. And then bring your arms out to the sides and make some circles with the wrist joints. And then we'll take the hands to the floor from table pose. You're going to slide the blocks a little bit further forward. Usually in table you have your hips directly over your knees and your hands under your shoulders. For our purposes, we're actually going to bring the hands further forward and then shoulders over the hands. Now on your next exhale, let the shoulder blades move a little bit closer and bend your elbows with a strong core. As you inhale, straighten the arms, pushing up. Exhale, sit towards your feet. Inhale, come forwards, shoulders over wrists. Exhale, shoulder blades closer, and then bend the elbows about 45 degrees from the body. Inhale, straight arms, round your back. Exhale, tuck the chin, sit towards the heels. A few more like that. Inhale, forward. Exhale, bend the elbows. Feel free to lower your hips all the way down. You can even lower the belly. Inhaling, push up to the knees. Exhaling, sit back towards the heels. Inhale, come forward. Shoulder blades are spreading apart. Exhale, shoulder blades closer, and bend the elbows. Inhale, push up to the knees, keeping the core strong. Exhale, sit back towards the heels. And last one. Inhale, come forward. Exhale, bend the elbows, lowering the hips. Inhale, push up to the knees. And then exhale, bring your forearms to the floor. Walk your elbows a little further forward, palms to the ground as well. And then draw your hips back to this variation of the puppy dog pose. So try to keep your elbows pretty close to your head, as close as you're comfortable. And then breathe deeply in this position. You can make the effort as relaxed as you like. We're trying to keep the upper arm bone in that really ideal position for the overhead range. So the elbows are close to the head, but only as close as you're comfortable. Shoulder blades naturally spread apart. And take some deep breath. And then notice the feeling of your breath. You might be able to feel that the inhale starts in the belly. Maybe it feels like it's in the lower back or even flowing in between the shoulder blades. And then pushing into your forearms, lift your head. Bring your elbows back a few more inches so they're just underneath your shoulders. From there, we're going to push into the forearms, doming the upper back, spreading the shoulder blades. And then try straightening your left leg all the way back. Good. Tension your core. From there, hover the left leg, and then slowly lower the toes. Straightening the leg, hover it up, and lower the toes. And repeat 3 more times. Keeping the core strong. Try to keep the whole body still. So the movement is isolated to the left leg, the left hip. 1 more to go. And then switching legs, bend your left knee to the padded area. Tuck the left toes under. And then as you straighten the right leg, strongly push into the forearms, tensioning the core. Lift the right leg and lower. So notice the feeling in the back of the thigh. Probably feel the hamstrings doing more of the lifting since it is a straight leg position. Try to keep the leg turned in slightly to stay neutral. And you might feel the smaller glute muscles also participate in the movement, if we can keep that more neutral position. So the smaller glutes and hamstrings become more dominant in these straight leg hip extension moves. 1 more to go. Very good. Then lowering the knee, tuck the toes, and we'll sit back again, coming into a toe squat. So hips right over your knees. Call this one the camel vinyasa, or saluting the camel. It's kind of like the sun salute, but we're working with only one arm. So place your left hand at your lower back. And then just like we did in the sun salute, you can either go out to the side on the inhale and then upwards, or if you prefer to go straight up, that's fine as well. So inhaling, reach the right arm up. On the exhale, take the hand behind the back and bow forward slowly. Inhale, come all the way up with the right arm. And repeat. Exhale, bowing, squeezing shoulder blade to middle back. Inhale, reaching up, extend the hips. And then exhale, bringing the hand behind the back. A few more to go at your own pace. Try to keep the legs parallel. Working with that hip hinge. Since the knees are bent, we can also allow the spine to round forward as much as it's comfortable. And then inhale, reach the arm up. From there, step the left foot near the front left corner of the mat and explore bending into the left knee a little bit more and a little bit less. Notice as you're pushing off the heel, try to awaken the buttock so it becomes the main support for that left hip joint. Keep on lifting up through the right arm, lifting the right shoulder blade to the ear. And the next time you reverse the movement, pause at a sweet spot where the lower back feels good. And also where the knee feels good. So you might find that being in a full squat is too much. Draw your knee back over your ankle. And then as you bend that top arm, use your other hand to very gently push back on the elbow. You can stay here. Imagine the legs as a pair of scissors trying to close towards each other. So that right hip pushes forward, left hip pulls back. Actively push the elbow forward into the hand and resist it using the hand to push back. Gentle effort is enough. And you're basically recreating the effect of $1,000 gym equipment by simply using your own body with good alignment principles. Awesome. And then reversing the movement, we're going to straighten that left leg. You can bend your knee to grab the yoga blocks and place one of them underneath each of your hands. So contracting into the left quadriceps, think of scissoring the legs to draw back through the left hip joint. On the inhalation, lift the heart, and then exhale, fold over the left leg. Again, inhale, pushing through the fingers, lift the heart. And exhale, fold over the leg. And then once more. Inhale, lift the heart. Try to keep the back fairly straight. Exhale, hinge at the hip. With your back straight, see how much you can comfortably straighten your front leg and breathe. A little bit looser, you might start folding a little bit closer towards that ankle. A lot of times our hamstrings aren't necessarily that tight. It's often in the back of the calf or below it around the soleus. So you may like to take your free hand to the foot and pull back a bit on the toes to really emphasize the calf stretch. Very good. Then we'll slowly come up. Tensioning the core, bring your left leg back. So legs are parallel again. And then with an inhale, bring the left arm up to the sky. And then exhaling, tip forward, bringing the hand towards your sacrum. Again, inhale, lifting the left arm into the overhead range. Remember your options there. And exhale, hinging forward, bringing the hand back. And continue at your own pace. Maybe you're doing this big spiraling motion, spreading the shoulder blade at the top of the move. Maybe you're keeping it a bit more simple by reaching straight up to the sky. Remember, it does help to squeeze the shoulder blade into the middle back until the moment your arm goes beyond eye level, and then you spread it out. Last one, lifting that left arm, and then step the right foot forward, somewhere near the front right corner of the mat. Since this is a squatting position, we can pivot out over the heel, turning the hip out just a little bit. Then explore bending the knee more, and then connecting to the buttocks and core to reverse the movement. If you feel lower back pain when you bend the knee, just don't go as far. You're just exploring what feels comfortable for you. In my own personal experience, bending my knee this much would really hurt my lower back, and then after training the foundations for a few years, I was gradually able to access this bigger range of motion without any pain or any issues. So think of it as a long-term journey. Be really patient with it. Feel free to play with sliding the foot a little further forward if you don't feel much stretch in the front of the left hip. Experiment. And then reversing the movement, draw the knee just over the ankle. Tension the core to lift the pubic bone in the front. Then as you bend the elbow, keep it close to your head, and then gently push back with the right arm. So this is a great place to stay. Once you've pushed back a little, create some resistance by pushing the arm bone forward into your hand, imitating that expensive workout equipment. A little bit of resistance in both directions. A few more breaths here. Work the legs like a pair of scissors trying to close. Contracting the left buttock to push the left hip forward, while the right heel pulls back. And then slowly straighten the front leg. You can take your fingertips to yoga blocks just underneath your arms. Option to push through the blocks for a moment to lift the foot and slide it further forward. As you inhale, lift the heart, draw the right thigh bone back to the hip. Exhale, hinge forward. Inhale, lift the heart. And then start the movement with a straight spine, so you're getting the pelvis to tip forward over the thigh bone. And a few more to go. Try flexing the toes to the shin to get more into the calf. And then pause at a sweet spot. If your back is straight, attempt to straighten your leg. If that feels really uncomfortable, try bending the knee a little bit more. And there is the option to round the spine a little if that feels okay. Good. A few more breaths. You're welcome to take your left hand to your foot, pulling back a little, stretching more into the back of the calf. And then releasing the pose, lift the heart, tensioning the core, bring the right leg back. Good. From there, we'll bring the knees wide apart, toes touching. Take the hands underneath the shoulders. On an inhale breath, open the right arm out to the side, open the chest. Exhale, thread the needle, sliding the right arm underneath the left arm. And again, inhale, right arm up, open the chest. Exhale, thread the needle, sliding through. And do a few more of these movements at your own pace. If it hurts to go into the twist, you can modify it by simply touching your right hand to the floor under your shoulder and then re-lifting the arm. If it does feel comfortable to twist and you like an extra challenge, you can actually keep the entire arm hovering as you reach through. This causes the obliques, the sides of the core, to do more work. And then next inhale, reach the right arm up and pause. Turning the right chest open to the sky, draw the shoulder blades a little bit closer together, and then push a little stronger into your left palm. So that activates the muscles that spread the shoulder blades apart. And the two things I said, they sound like they contradict each other, but we're actually trying to engage opposing muscle groups. From there, make some big circles in the right shoulder, reaching forwards by the ear, up to the sky, and then back by the hip. Forwards by the ear, thumbs up. Back by the hip, palm down. Training those same rhythms in the shoulder joint as we did in our various different sun salutes today. And then reach forwards just above the ear. Straighten the arm. We'll hold this pose for a few breaths. Contract the left side of the core to help stretch through the right side of the spine, allowing the right shoulder blade to lift to the ear. Meanwhile, the left shoulder blade draws away from the ear. And slowly come down. We'll switch arms. So plant the right palm. Inhale, left arm up to the sky, opening through the chest. And then exhale, thread the needle, or modify tapping the fingers down. Again, inhale, open the chest. And exhale, threading the needle, bending the right arm if you're reaching through. Continue to move with your breath. And the only reason we're doing this with our toes touching and the knees wide is that puts the hip joints in a better position for twisting, preventing the hip hike that's so common for those of us with scoliosis and leg length differences. So it's helpful to think about how these movements that you're doing resemble other movements that you may have seen in different yoga classes. The action of lifting the arm here is just like a side plank type of movement. And then next time we reach the arm up, we'll pause there, opening the chest, slightly squeeze the shoulder blades, but then push into the right palm more to help activate the muscles that spread the shoulder blades. From there, we'll make big circles, so reach back by the hip, turning the palm down to face the ground, and then reach forwards by the ear, thumbs up. Working on external rotation in the overhead range, internal rotation in the extension position, which brings the arm bone back. External in the flexion position, overhead range, internal rotation during extension of the shoulder. A few more to go. Feel your way through these movements. It's okay to deviate from the path if that feels better for your body. A lot of great insights come from just listening to the body, and if something hurts, try it a different way. And then we'll reach forwards by the ear, working that external rotation. Keep turning your left chest open. Strongly contract and shorten the right side of the torso. Try to lengthen between the left hip and the armpit, letting that left shoulder blade lift to the ear. Head neutral, tall through the crown of the head. This is exactly like extended side angle. Very good. And then slowly release the pose. Good. And then from there, we'll walk the hands a little closer to the knees and push into your hands, coming into the ragdoll position. So the heels are on the ground. Hold on to opposite elbows. You can turn both of your hips out a little bit. So we angle the feet out to reflect that. And then as you hold on to opposite elbows, let your head and neck dangle. Let the abdomen relax, let the spine relax. Let the legs do the work. As the torso leans over your left ankle, the left leg becomes more weight-bearing, and vice versa. And we can play with letting the knees press away from each other, emphasizing the hip abduction with external rotation. Good, and then bending your knees even more, let the arms go loose, and then very slowly roll up to a standing position. Awesome. And then we'll undo the fold in the middle of the mat if you had one. I'm just going to slide my mat back to do that. Then you can place one yoga block at the front of the mat and one near the back of the mat. And we'll meet in mountain pose again. And so as we lean over that left ankle, the left leg becomes weight-bearing. Lean over the right ankle, right leg becomes more weight-bearing. So play around with that. If you have trouble with balancing on one leg, this is how you do it. You lean your whole body over that leg and then lift the opposite heel. So let's all lean over that left hip. We're going to lift the right heel up, and then turning from the hip joint, explore turning the hip outwards and then into neutral. Outwards, even a little past neutral if that feels okay. And then turn outwards. From there, bend both legs, and now slowly pick up the right toes, lifting the knee. You can even push your knee up against your hand, and we'll hold this posture. So this is a variation of tree pose. If it feels comfortable for your knee, you can slowly straighten the left leg. Keep pushing your right knee up to your hand. Toes are spreading, the whole leg roots. If this is too much, you can always bring your right toes to the floor again. The leg is still going to be weight-bearing if your torso is over the leg. And then we'll come back to center, right leg neutral, and then lean side to side, just playing with the weight transfer. So as we lean over that right ankle, right leg becomes more weight-bearing. Lift your left heel, turn out from the left hip, and then turn in. And what I love about this kind of stuff is that it's so accessible, and you're not just working on strength, you're actually working on the flexibility. Or in more modern terms, if it's a flexibility that we can control with strength, it's called mobility. So that's the difference, is that we're using strength to get there instead of just pulling the leg into a position. So let's turn the hip out now. You can stay there. Try pressing your thigh bone up into your hand near the knee. Bend both legs, and then lift the leg a little higher if you can. Notice how this really activates around the flexors of the left hip. So we're really strengthening into the psoas. If you're really comfortable in this pose, you might slowly straighten the balancing leg. Keep the quads strong. If you're able to maintain neutral position in that standing leg, your smaller glutes are going to be participating with the movement. And that can really help with hip joint stability and resolving issues around the hip flexors. A few more breaths. Toes are spreading. Quads are contracting in that standing leg. And then very slowly land it. And then other side again. So we'll lean over that left ankle. Bend both knees. Turn the right hip out. Lift the leg, hands-free mode this time. And then make some big circles in the hip joint. If you find the balance tricky, feel free to take your left hand to a wall or furniture or a friend, whatever you have to hold on to. We're pressing the knee away from the midline, externally rotating, and abduction at the same time. A few more to go. Good. One more, super slow motion, so half speed. Ooh, feel the burn. And come back. So parallel feet. Lean over the right ankle, left leg up, and then circles in the hip joint. And I find this is the most valuable stuff. This is the stuff that you use when you're going hiking in the woods, when you're walking through the snow, if we can talk about that at this time of year. You're playing sports. Good. Just a few more to go. Go half speed now. And then we'll come back to standing. Very good. Good. So we'll step to the front of the mat now. Actually, I've changed my mind. We'll stay as we were. So let's take the feet apart. About 4 feet apart. And then with an inhale, spread the arms like wings. Lift and spread your toes, and then pivot out over the right heel. Bend your knee just over the ankle, as far as you're comfortable. Good. Now on your next inhale, straighten the legs and reach the arms up. Exhale, bend the right knee, shoulders away from ears. And then inhale, spread the shoulder blades, reaching the arms up. And you can play around with different arm positions in that overhead range. If it hurts your shoulders, take your shoulders forward and then up. And then turn the palms to come down. And then warrior two position, so bend your right knee. From there, we'll contract the right side of the core and the right hip. Rest your forearm on the thigh and then actively press the thigh up into your forearm. It's going to really flex the hip. Try to tear the mat apart with the feet. And then make some big circles with the top arm. So you're welcome to stay in this posture, or you could take the right hand to a yoga block just below your shoulder for some extra support, so then the hand becomes weight-bearing as well. These are those same circular motions that we did in the table pose. Shoulder turns in as it goes by the hip, and then shoulder turns outwards as we reach forwards. And then reach forwards just above the ear and pause. Try to turn the shoulder outwards, so the thumbs up, and pause. Activate the right buttock by slightly reversing the bend of the knee, pushing off the heel to awaken the glute. And then engaging the left side of your core, start to come up, warrior two stance, and then straight legs, parallel feet. So we'll turn to the other side now. Lifting and spreading the toes, pivot out from the left hip joint, setting up the warrior two position. So we'll bend the knee. Right heel could drop back a little bit to cultivate more inward rotation in that right leg. On your next inhale, lift the arms up to the sky, straighten the legs. Exhale, warrior two position. Inhale, try reaching forward a little bit as the arms go up. Exhale, warrior two. If that feels pretty good, you might go less forward next time. Moving with more and more energy efficiency once the shoulder feels pretty good. Just keep adapting it to your needs. A few more to go. If the external rotation feels really good, you might start to play with a bit more of a neutral position. So I'm even rotating in a little bit as I reach up. Most people do that automatically, so we encourage training external rotation more. But if that's really easy, try the opposite way. And then from warrior two position, we'll bend the left knee, forearm to thigh. Actively press the leg up into the arm to help flex into the hip, and then tear the mat apart with the feet. Okay, from there, start to make some big circles with that top arm. Palm down by the hip, thumbs up by the ear. And continue at your own pace. Feel free to take your left hand to a yoga block under the shoulder. This also helps to shorten and contract the left side of the core to get more of a stretch through the right side of the body. So if you have a similar leg length difference or scoliosis as I do, maybe you have one side that's constantly compressed a lot. So you take advantage of this opportunity to lengthen it. We can approach both sides of the body quite differently. And then next time the arm goes forward by the ear, we'll pause in the posture. Play with bending the knee a little more, and then reverse the bend of the knee to help contract into that left buttock. Back leg is totally straight, quads are strong. A few more breaths. And before you come up, contract the right side of the core, hiking up the right hip. And then with core awareness, inhale, warrior two. And then return to neutral, toes in slightly. Very good. Bring the feet a little bit closer now, just a half a foot or so. And then lift and spread your right toes, turning the right foot out. Good. With an inhale, lift the arms up, keeping the right leg straight, quads contracted. Exhale, slowly take the right hand down to the yoga block for this variation of triangle pose. Top arm straight up to the sky. And so as you really connect to the right side of the core, the left side of the body can lengthen. We can also play with squeezing the left shoulder blade into the middle back while reaching out through the fingertips to really open up the front body. Buttocks are strong, tearing them out apart with the feet. Quads are strong. On your next exhale, bend the right knee and look down, just like Warrior Two. Engaging the left side of the core. Inhale, come up. Straight legs to parallel feet. And then turn, pivoting out over the left foot, pivot over the heel. Inhale, tension the quads, lift the arms. And then exhale, take the left hand down to the yoga blocks. If you find you're kind of stuck up high, the key principle is letting the pelvis move with you. So the inward spin of the back leg allows the pelvis to turn a little bit to the front leg, and that's the great secret of getting down lower. I think sometimes you take classes where you're taught to imagine the body between two panes of glass, but the downside of that cue is it doesn't allow free movement of the pelvis. So let's forget about that cue entirely. Let the pelvis move with you. And now that you're in the pose, imagine you're between two panes of glass, tensioning the core and the buttock. So that's more of a refinement once you're in the pose. Or as my teacher Richard Freeman describes it, it's a secondary action. And it helps to break them apart when you're studying, and then with practice, we blend them together really seamlessly. Next exhale, bend the left knee over the ankle. Engaging the right side of the core, inhale to come up. Parallel feet. Good, this time both toes turn in, hands to the waist. Just take a moment to shorten your distance a bit, bend your knees. Bring the blocks just in front of you. So notice how I'm squatting to bend my knees and come forward. And then we'll go back to that preparation stance with the toes turned in a bit, feet 4 to 5 feet apart. So with an inhale breath, open the chest, spreading the arms out. Exhale, keep the heart lifted, hands to the waist. Inhale, loop the shoulders up and back. Squeeze your shoulder blades to look up. Exhale, fold at the hip. Try to keep your back straight and take the hands to the blocks or to the floor if you wish. If that feels too easy, you might shorten the height of the blocks a bit. Inhale, tension the quads, lift and spread the toes as you look up. Exhale, fold at the hip, bending the elbows. Inhale, relift the heart. See how much you can comfortably straighten the legs. Exhale, fold. If it hurts, bend your knees more. Again, inhale, lift the heart, try to straighten the legs. Option 1, stay here for 5 breaths. Option 2, hands to the floor. Option 3, bend the elbows, walking the hands back a little bit. So notice how I'm still keeping my back pretty straight through this movement, creating space or length between the pubic bone and the sternum. So I'm lengthening the belly, finding the back bend within the forward bend. Drawing the inner thighs back to get movement in the pelvis instead of at the spine. And then inhale, lift the heart halfway, walk the hands forward a bit. Exhale, bend your knees, take your hands to the waist. Inhale, come up with bent knees. Exhale fully. We'll do a second variation. So feel free to grab a yoga strap. You can hold it between your hands as you bring your hands behind your back. If you're a bit looser, try interlacing the fingers. And then as you inhale, roll your shoulders up to your ears, and then squeeze the shoulder blades, opening your chest. As you exhale, try to lift the hands off of your spine, and then fold forward. Feel free to bend your knees. This is going to help you get your heart closer to the floor in order to open the chest. I'm going to bring my head all the way to the ground. You don't have to. If that's pretty easy, then you might straighten your legs so the head's a little further away from the floor. And breathe. One more breath. As you exhale, bend your knees and then bring the hands to the floor, letting go of the strap. Take an inhale to walk the hands forward and lift the heart. Feel free to use the yoga blocks under your hands. And then exhale, walk the heels in a little closer, turn your feet out. And this one's called the God of War pose. A lot of us did it as kids warming up for sports that we played. So we're going to bend one knee, straighten the other, and then come across center, bend the other leg. Because you're working with a squat, you want to push the hip out, so you're turning out over the heel. And keep on experimenting on your own, going side to side. Remember, we're turning out from the hip joint, abducting the hip, and then focus on really rooting the heel of the leg as the knee bends. If you can keep the heel down, you're encouraging your glutes to become active participants in stabilizing the hip joint. If you're unable to keep the heel down, then maybe you don't go as far. Maybe pause with your knee over the ankle. And generally speaking, the benefits of creating stability in the joint far outweigh pursuing flexibility right away. And then next time you bend the right leg, pause there. So keep the heel rooted, buttocks strong. Lift your left toes away from the floor, and then turn that left hip outwards more so that the toes and knee aim up to the sky. If you're a little bit looser, you might sit back into even more of a squat. Try to keep the heel down. If you'd like to show off, you can present with your arms wide. It's like presenting a magic trick. And then we'll go to the other side, planting the hands, dig into the heels. Before you bend the knee, turn out from the right hip joint. And then slowly bend, digging into the heel. Lift your left toes off the ground, and then try rolling that thigh outward so the sitting bone drops a little bit. If you're feeling really strong in the heel, maybe you're working with hands-free mode. Keep rooting the heel. Try spreading out through the toes of both feet. Very good. Then we'll come back to the center, nice and slow. And then pivot so you're facing the front of the mat in a lunging position. So you're high on left toes. And from there, we're going to lower the left knee to the floor and walk that right foot over towards the left edge of the mat. So this is a variation of the pigeon pose. I'm going to take my right hand off to the side, lowering the body so that the weight is on the outside of my right thigh. So notice how I've unsquared my hips. I'm letting the pelvis move with me. If you're a little bit looser, then over time, you would try to straighten the left leg and then rotate it in. But if you're a bit limited, the limitation is probably the flexibility of the right hip. So you can work with it this way. And then take an inhale to lift the heart just a little bit. Exhale, fold over your right knee. Again, inhale, lift the heart. Exhale, try folding more towards the ankle. And again, inhale, lift the heart. And then pause at a sweet spot. Maybe you're folding kind of mid-shin, maybe it's the knee or ankle. All good. If you're quite flexible with the left leg straight, you can rotate it in. Otherwise, no sweat. Keep it rotated out more. And we'll hold the pose a little bit longer. And then inhale, slowly come on up. And then find one of your yoga blocks. So bring the right heel a little closer towards your pelvis without using your hands. You're going to lean back and then bring the right heel in. And using your left hand for support, push into it to lift your hips and place a yoga block underneath your right buttock. If you have two blocks, you can use the second one underneath either of your hands. I'm using my left hand, but you could use your right hand if you like. And then think of rotating the left leg in as we lift the pelvis away from the floor, tall spine. If that feels pretty stable, you can then take your hands towards your lower back, just outside the sacrum. And this is where we can work towards squaring the hips by pulling back through the right hip and then contracting the left buttock to push the left hip forward. And so this is a variation of pigeon that's more related to hip extension or back bending. Really work the inner leg line, squeezing the legs like a pair of scissors trying to close. And then taking the hands forward, release the pose. Take your legs back to table or downward dog. And then we'll bring the left foot forward to a lunge, lower the right knee, and then walk that left foot over towards the right side of the mat. From there, we take the left hand off to the side for support, slowly come onto the shin, come onto the outer edge of the thigh. And again, we could stick with the back leg bent 90 degrees, pelvis turn more to the right. If you're quite flexible, start to straighten the right leg, and then gradually turn it in. And then inhale to lift your heart up. Exhale, folding over your knee. Again, inhale, lift the heart. Exhale, try folding towards the ankle. Inhale, lift the heart. Maybe you're folding mid-shin. Maybe you're hitting one of those other points again. And pause at a sweet spot. Wherever you feel the benefit of comfort in the knee, number one. And secondly, you're looking for some kind of stretch around the left buttock, left hip. So if you are a bit tight, staying more upright and hinging over the knee might be more desirable for you. You can play around with it. Deep, slow breath. And the practice that we've done today is really everything that you need to get more and more comfortable with sitting on the floor or sitting for meditation. It's also working on joint stability, which crosses over to everything we do in life. Biking, running, gardening, you name it. Now we'll move into the royal pigeon, the king pigeon. So you can walk your hands in. And then from there, bring your left heel a little bit closer to your pelvis. So it's just underneath the right hip, moving the knee joint towards full flexion. From there, push into your right hand, helping yourself up. And then put a cushion or a yoga block underneath the left sitting bone. And so what that's doing is keeping our pelvis above the floor, giving us a little bit of support. Next, we try to straighten the right leg. You can take a yoga block underneath either of your hands. I prefer it underneath the right hand personally. And then we try to draw the right hip forward while pulling back through the left hip joint. Start to squeeze the inner leg line, maybe even lift your buttocks off the yoga block so you're getting more and more lift through the heart. Feel free to take your hands outside of your sacrum instead, and you could think of this as being very similar to a lunging position. So the left hip pulls back and the right hip pushes forward. A few more breath there. This is like the basic version of the pose. There's fancier ones out there, like catching your back foot with either of your hands or even flipping the grip if you're super flexible in the shoulder. But we get most of the benefits from the other stuff that we've already done. Very good. And then releasing the pose, we'll take the hands forward and do a little counter pose for the spine. So lay down onto your belly, bringing the legs together. This back bend can be really stabilizing for the sacrum. So focus on the inward rotation of both legs. Touch the inner edges of the big toes together. And then with an inhale, lift your shoulders and chest away from the floor. And then lift your legs off the ground, holding for a few breaths. Good. Now exhale, tuck your chin, bring the top of the head down, lower the feet. Same pose, but bring the arms out to the sides like wings, thumbs up. Just like a side plank or warrior two. As you inhale, lift the shoulders away from the floor, out like wings. Lift your legs up, and then slowly lift the heart, holding for a few breaths. It's an amazing strengthener for the back of the spine. This particular variation helps strengthen the back of the shoulder, really awakening the muscles around the rotator cuff. And then exhale all the way down. We'll do one last variation. So bring both hands to the sacrum around the lower back region, legs together. Just like the salute the camel vinyasa we did. Inhale, bring the right arm out to the side and then forward. Lift the head, lift the opposite leg. Exhale, come back to the center. Other side. Inhale, left arm forward, opposite leg comes up. And then exhale, back to the center. A few more each side. Inhale, right arm out to the side, and then externally rotate, thumbs up. Exhale, center. Inhale, left arm out to the side, external rotation to the shoulder. Exhale, internal rotation, and then sacrum. Last one each side. Inhale, swoop forward, and then rotate the shoulder outwards so the palm is facing the midline. Exhale, center. Last one, left arm. Inhale, so the shoulder rotates in, and then it rotates out for overhead. Exhale, center. Very good. Hands underneath your shoulders. So push into your hands, engage your core, and then sit back into the puppy dog pose. Resting towards your heels, take the arms forward. Treating it more like a child's pose. You can sit back on the feet and breathe deeply. And then slowly roll up, bring your legs out in front. So with the feet about hip width, hands half a foot behind you, loop the shoulders up to the ears, and then squeeze the shoulder blades closer to lift the heart. You can stay here, pushing your palms into the floor. So notice my hands are actually aiming at the front of the mat. So there's an inward rotation in the shoulder as we work the shoulder extension range of motion. Stay there, option 1. Option 2, dig into the heels, lifting the hips up, and bring them down. And repeat. Inhale, lift the hips. Exhale, lower it down. A few more to go. Inhale, hips up. Exhale, down. If your lower back hurts, use the exhale to come up instead. That might give you a bit more core stability and pelvic floor activation. Exhale to lift. And then we'll meet back in the center. Bring the feet together. If it's available to you, draw the heels in towards the pelvis. If you find that inaccessible, keep your feet about 1.5 feet in front of you instead. Inhale to lift the heart, pulling back a bit on the legs. And then exhale, fold forward, either holding the feet, or you can slide your hands underneath the shins and let the chin drop in, relaxing the back of the spine. And then inhale, contract the buttocks to come up. And exhale, lean back a little, bring your legs together. Straightening the legs, take a breath in, reaching the arms forward. Exhale, point your feet, engage the core. Tucking the chin, slowly lay down onto your back. And then bring the arms out like wings for windshield wipers. This is our last pose before resting. So you can bring the arms out like wings, shoulders away from ears. And then rest your feet on the floor, bending the knees. Feet as wide apart as the mat. And then very slowly go side to side with the legs. The key word is slow, and keep the feet hip width, stretching into the hips. And then bring both knees towards the right side, keeping the feet as wide as the mat. Rest in that position. Option 2 is lift your right ankle and place it on the outside of the left leg, just above the knee. You can press the ankle against the outer thigh, and this helps work the internal rotation of the left thigh. Take some deep, slow breath into the belly. And then we'll slowly go to the other side, taking the feet wide apart. Exhale to the left. Feel free to stay there, or hook the left ankle on the outside of the right thigh, using the ankle to gently press the thigh down. And then very slowly come back to the center. Hug your knees in towards your chest. Wrap the arms around the legs. Take a few breaths there, hugging the legs into the belly. Relax the forehead and the jaw. And then let go into deep relaxation. Bring the arms out by your sides, about 45 degrees off the body, shoulders away from ears. And then scooping into your heels, slide the tailbone forward towards the front of the mat. And then take a long breath in. And big sigh of relief. Completely relaxing the whole body. Let the mouth fall open, completely relaxing the jaw, relaxing the tongue.